migraine headaches, that led to blurry vision, that led to double vision, led to all kinds of balance issues, and then it became emotionally liable. So I started having
because it was a softball being shoved into the back of my skull. Here's a morphine patch, or here's Vicodin, or here's some Percocet. We have no idea, but we don't know what's going on.
This is the biggest cause of loss of productive years of life in this country. You know, the people that have the accidents, that have the disabilities.
Like, I was very dizzy. I was pretty out of it. Like, out of one eye, it was pretty blurry. But it was one of our playoff games for like a state cup that we had for my club team. So
I think you want to get to a point where you can almost eliminate this from happening, and it's either going to come through science or it's going to come through technology.
TBI is a silent epidemic that can affect people of all walks of life. Every 15 seconds, every 15 seconds, someone sustains a TBI. Over the last 10 years, over 300,000 service members have sustained a traumatic brain injury. Brain injury has become known as the signature wound of the wars of Iraq and Afghanistan. And the face you normally see doesn't usually include my next guest. Please welcome Army veteran Margaux. Margaux, this is really kind of crazy because I look at you and I will tell you that TBI is the farthest thing from my mind when I look at that face. I couldn't even, right now, if you walked in the room with 12 other people, I would not have identified you as a person in the military. But I think part of the reason why I wouldn't have is because of your TBI. Because probably before that, I would have picked you out of the crowd, how straight you stand, right?
Yes.
You suffered a TBI your first, back in 2006?
2006.
You tell me what happened.
It was a routine patrol. We were with the Iraqi police, just teaching them how to be police officers.
And I should say you were a gunner.
I was a gunner.
I maybe make sure people at home are getting this, because again, when I say the face of what you normally see from our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan aren't faces of young ladies like yourself, honestly. So before '06, how long had you been in the service?
I had joined in 2004. 2004.
Went through boot camp, gunnery. You were actually in the little turret, correct?
I was in the turret with a 50 cal.
Wow, it's way different military than when I was in. But that's great. So you're up there with a 50 cal, and what happened?
I was just monitoring my section, and then we pulled up to a mosque, and I think the Iraqi police set me up, and I was hit with an explosive that was buried in the ground right next to my truck.
IED, one of those improvised
yeah.
explosive devices. Did it flip your truck over?
No, it just hit the front section of my truck and threw me back into the turret, and it knocked me unconscious for about 30 seconds.
Let's talk about that 30 seconds. Blast happens, you didn't know it was about to happen, so it hit you. When you woke up, take me through exactly what you remember when you woke up.
I remember my team leader sitting right here, and he was screaming at me. He was saying, Mange, wake up, are you okay? And I couldn't answer him because my ears were pounding, and they were on fire, it almost seemed, and I looked at him like he was crazy, like, I'm okay. And I thought I was saying it, but I wasn't saying anything. I finally said, I'm okay, and when those words came out, it hurt because all the sound was reverberating back into my ears. And then I looked around, and all this shrapnel and clouds of, it seemed like I was in a vacuum, just all this smoke and debris was surrounding me, and I was fine.
Could you know where you were? You still knew you were in a combat zone?
I knew where I was.
You knew that you just got hit with an IED?
Yeah.
And you survived it too, by the way. Let's just say that, right?
Yeah.
So the patrol took how long to end?
Oh, we sat there for 2 more hours.
Because your truck was damaged?
It could not move.
Okay.
And I looked up at this wall to my right, and I saw all the bullet holes on this wall, and I just waited for an engagement from the enemy, and it never happened. And so we waited for QRF, and it took them forever to come because they put me on the radio, and I gave them the wrong directions because I didn't know where I was because I just got my bell rung really bad. So QRF came, and they towed our truck, and I couldn't get out of the turret because I still had to, put do everything that a gunner's supposed to do. And so we got back to the aid station, and they said, you know, I had a severe concussion.
But let's stop this for a second. And again, you know, hindsight's 1,000,000, not 20/20. Your unit commander, when he knew you were out for 30 to 40 seconds, why did they not switch someone out, put somebody else in that turret?
My driver, they didn't know if he had a concussion, and so, you know, he had to stay in that position. And there was 3 other trucks that had their jobs.
Okay.
And so everyone has a job, and that's what you train for. And if I wasn't bleeding, if I was still conscious, I have a job. And so they didn't know at that time that I was out of it. You know, I was saying, Sergeant, I'm okay.
Because you know you have a job.
Yeah, and my job is, you look at the ground for any IEDs, they're not there. And that's your first job once you get hit. And then your next job is monitor your section for anybody that's going to shoot at you. And at that time, I was doing that.
So they towed you back in. As soon as you got back in, you went right to medical. Mm-hmm. And what did they tell you?
I have a severe concussion and rest for 3 days.
Now, you know, I think, again, hindsight's 20/20. We're going to hear a lot more later on this show from doctors and some experts. But, you know, when this happened, they gave you 3 days off, right? It's insane. Because, truthfully, with the severity of your concussion from that blast, they probably should have given you a month off.
I wouldn't have taken it.
I know. That's what we train.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
But now we're paying the price. Okay, so 3 months later, right? You're out on patrol again. Mm-hmm. And how many vehicles this time?
There's 4 vehicles.
4 vehicles in patrol. And what happened?
I was a front truck, and my best friend and 2 others were in the second truck. And
your best friend is another female.
Mm-hmm.
And what's her name?
Ashley Moyer.
Okay.
And it was another routine patrol, and we rolled over a 50-pound bomb. Mm-hmm. I made it through it, and Ashley didn't. They triggered it, and she was killed.
And that's how they used to do it, because they would make sure the first vehicle goes over, hit the second vehicle, first vehicle has to stop, you then have to take small arms fire, second, third vehicle have to stop, right? How long did you guys sit there?
It seemed like days, but I think it took 5 hours that we sat there.
So now you have this concussive traumatic brain injury, and 3 months later, you experience a really traumatic psychological event for yourself, and that's your best friend. That has continued to haunt you since. You do know that some of that is correlation too, correct?
Yes.
Because of the severity of the way your PTSD is now continued. Let's talk a little bit. Okay, so you're on patrol. That whole time, that 3-month period of time, were your ears still ringing?
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure they were.
They were? You had a headache all the time?
Yeah.
You look back at life now and you remember that period of time as nothing but one big headache.
Yeah.
And since then, what's life been like?
It's a headache, but I'm living.
I know, but you know what? Let's talk a little bit about how you started to recognize some of your symptoms that were post that second explosion, because that 50-pound bomb that blew up behind you, and you were in the turret, correct?
No, I was a driver then.
Driver then? That still was a concussive blast through you. So when did you start realizing that there's something else going on here?
10 days later, my face developed Bell's palsy. And so that's when they said I have to go back to launch stool because I couldn't blink. And then at launch stool, they saw that initial blast gave me atypical nerve pain and a mess of other problems.
Did they do an MRI or CT or CAT scan on you then? And what did they say after that came back?
They said that the atypical nerve pain and that I had a traumatic brain injury, but the biggest thing was that I had PTSD and that I would never be combat efficient and that my life in the military was probably over.
Crushing blow.
Because I didn't even say goodbye to my unit. I thought I was coming back in 10 days.
So you are sent back here and of course you went back right into the hospital, did you not? Talk to me a little bit about what the symptoms were you were experiencing when you got home.
I was tired all the time. I was trying to medicate. They were trying to medicate the headaches, so I was sleeping 14 hours a day. And then when I was awake, I had a headache, so I would just take Percocet or Vicodin and then sleep some more.
How long did the palsy last?
About 3 months.
3 months, and then that slowly went away. Did that damage your eye at all? Because you weren't able to. Okay, so then after that, the pressure pain kept building.
Yes.
And at some point in time, somebody suggested a full surgery. What did they do?
I was on 15 medications, and I was having nerve ablation, which is they go into the back of my head and put a long needle and kind of fry the nerve. And I was getting that maybe once a month, and I was just tired of taking medications and being treated like a guinea pig. And so a neurologist said, there's surgery available. Do you want to try that? And I said, anything but feeling like I'm in a cloud all day, being medicated like this. So I went in for surgery.
For brain surgery?
It's, they cut out my occipital nerve and then put in something to have a nerve stop hitting a blood vessel. I could give you the technical term, but.
But so they did this? Or how long did it take for you to recover?
I was in the hospital for 5 days, and then recovery took 2 weeks.
Did it relieve the symptoms?
For 6 months, I felt like I was back to normal. And then after 6 months, I was back to pain.
And that's now not stopped?
With other treatments, I'm back to, I don't know, 80%.
Okay.
Good.
Wow. I can't imagine, again, so your average day is what now?
It's a minor headache. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 3.
Okay.
And then there's days that I can't get out of bed, but it's better than what I was.
So you got out and you're going back and forth seeing doctors. They're feeding you more and more and more pills. And I'm not saying this as an aspersion on any doctor, because right now this is their only line of defense. They know no better. But you weren't doing much else in life, right?
No.
What were you doing?
I was depressed on the couch. I'd given up and I just wanted to live in pain. And for 3 years, I just sat on my couch watching Grey's Anatomy, and I had an 80-year-old neighbor, and he taught me how to garden, and I just kind of fit into that kind of life.
I mean, again, because people at home may not understand when you say you were just sitting in pain, okay? So you've got this golf ball, this baseball pounding inside your head. Was it literally physically painful in your body to walk, or was it just, all of it? I mean, you're depressed, you're crying, you're sad, you're happy, what's going on?
I didn't think of myself as suicidal, but at times I wanted to cut off my head. So, because that's where my pain was. So if that describes what kind of pain I was in, at times I would just look at a garden hose and think, well, if I just wrapped that around my neck and took off this part of my body, I could still live just without that part of my pain. I was in that much pain. I didn't want to die. I just wanted this pain to go away.
So some of the things that you've tried to do yourself have given you some temporary relief, like hyperbarics and other things. But right now, you said to me you were still in pain. So is that pain still there now as we sit here?
Yes, it's given me my life back, but I've accepted that I will be in pain for the rest of my life.
I don't know if that's necessary, that you have to accept that. I mean, literally, I have MS, and my MS, my primary symptom was neuropathic pain. I've spent hours upon hours a day, reading books and trying to figure out ways to mitigate that pain. And there are ways to lessen that pain.
And I think it's the lesson part. It's lessening it.
It's lessening.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's the right way to believe, but after 7 years of pain.
Sure. You're at least up, you're off the couch. You're back in life. Are you working now?
I'm in college,
College? What are you studying?
outdoor recreation.
So you feel better in the outdoors.
I love the outdoors. I think that's the only way to get out of your head is to take in some oxygen, some real oxygen, and look at some mountains and say, what's better than this?
Well, you know, I mean, that's part of the reason why we're here today is because I want other people who are sitting at home who, you know, again, Margaux's in the military. You're thinking, oh, well, she got hit by an IED. It can't be as bad as when I fell out of the upper bunk bed. That can't be as bad as when I fell down a flight of stairs. It's not as bad as when that woman hit me from behind and I smacked my head against that steering wheel. But it is as bad, and it can be as bad. War is not the only place that TBI can occur. We'll be back right after this. As you've heard from our guests, traumatic brain injury can cause many symptoms, including balance disorders. The only way we're going to be able to learn if treatments work to address these symptoms is through scientific clinical trial. If you, a family member, or a friend have chronic balance disorder that is a result of a mild or moderate traumatic brain injury due to sports, military service, slips, trips, or falls, they may be eligible to participate in a clinical trial for an investigational device being developed to treat balance disorder. Please visit braininjurytrial.com/livingwell or call 1-877-847-4290 for more information.